himself to Tom Brady in 2004 as well. He actually said to the media that although he didn't put up big numbers, he was important to the team. Tom Brady in 2001, not the quarterback you see today. He managed the team, he managed to win a Super Bowl. Theo Epstein took that article out of the Boston Globe, blew it up, taped it to Millar's locker in 2004. He put a Tom Brady uniform and pants on Millar's chair. All of us in the media got a chance to see this. Millar, knowing that he was in danger of being one-upped, proceeded to put the Brady uniform and pants on along with the helmet and conduct interviews with all of us. Very difficult to understand someone when they're wearing a football helmet. But that wasn't enough. He took off the helmet, put on pads underneath the uniform, and went out and shagged fly balls for 35 minutes. This is what it was like in the Red Sox locker room in 2004. Nowadays, less idiocy, more professionalism. Jason Varitek leads. J.D. Drew is quiet when he's healthy. But then again, whether or not he's in the locker room, it doesn't matter. We never hear from him. Dustin Pedroia is intense. And through it all, Terry Francona, the guy who manages to bring it all together despite differing chemistries from then until now. Doc Rivers and the Celtics get things done in a similar fashion. The veterans love Doc, and he communicates with the big three very, very well. You need to go no further than today. The Celtics today re-signed Doc Rivers to a 5-year contract extension. I don't know how many of you guys knew that. Doc's not here, I'll pass it along to you. Locker room is the smallest of the 3 teams, obviously, because there are only 15 guys that are active. And when your locker isn't all that important, most of the time. When I was covering the team a couple of years ago, Rajon Rondo's locker was between Ray Allen and Paul Pierce. There was a reason for that. Rondo, a rookie, second-year player, learned from the best. And Kevin Garnett, Pearson, Allen, all in there, policing the way things were done. Doc goes about his business with a sense of humor the other two really don't have. Francona gives and takes with the media at times, but Rivers, at least outwardly, has the same sense of humor whether his team wins 66 games or 26. He's always handled the media well, and much like Francona, will not rip one of his players publicly. He also has the big three to help him out, as I just said. The great thing about watching the Celtics locker room during their title run was the way the veterans were able to communicate with the younger players. Rajon Rondo had a bad game. In front of the media, the next day, Kevin Garnett would pull him aside and talk to him for about 10 or 15 minutes before he could talk to either one of them, building the kid's confidence. And I'm here to say it certainly worked. Rajon Rondo is one of the best point guards of the game today. And of course, then you have the hand grenade that is Glenn Davis in that locker room. I saw Davis, and he's called Big Baby for a reason, for those of you who are not basketball fans in the room. Glenn Davis is about 6'7", 285, 290. Thereabouts. He has what we call a low center of gravity. Davis, I swear to God this is true. Davis, there's usually food on a training table after the game. Everyone walks in. And one day there were like 2 or 3 pizzas sitting there. Big Baby took an entire pizza back to his locker and had finished it before we got there. He ate the whole thing. And he would always pop off, he'd just say random stuff, and finally, Ray Allen's locker was next to Davis's, and finally, Davis was just, I don't know, he's quoting Run DMC lyrics, rap lyrics, and finally, Davis had to look over his shoulder and say, you know, baby, grown folks talking, shut up. And finally, it happened, and unfortunately, after watching Big Baby in the NBA playoffs, I don't think he's matured all that much. All teams have a similar kind of social system where a bunch of veterans that have had at least individual or team success before lead and other younger players listen. It's been Troy Brown, Willie McGinnis, Teddy Bruschi, Tom Brady, Rodney Harrison over the years for the Patriots, Curt Schilling, Jason Varitek, David Ortiz for the Red Sox, and of course the big three for the Celtics. But in addition to all of those leaders, they have a single force guiding them. That's the head coach, and the local teams have great ones. So we have all these great teams. The question is, how are their successes and failures taken on any given day among the local sports fans? And now, ladies and gentlemen, that's where sports radio comes in. We're the barometer, we like to think, of the local sports fan and what they feel each and every day. Now, how many people here, honestly, listen to 98.5 The Sports Hub here in Boston? Really? Fantastic. I was worried this room was going to be filled up with AARP people and listening to the radio station. Oh, please. Come on. Now, before I begin this section, let me answer a few of the questions I usually get at this point. First, at 98.5 The Sports Hub, I'm asked a lot about what Fred and Rich are like, and I gotta be honest with you, it's just as it seems. These guys were rock and roll DJs. They worked for the old 104.1 FM WBCN for 2 or 3 years before they moved to the mornings, and I joined them. It's been a seamless transition for them. I'm really lucky to be on board. There's the occasional psychotic episode from Fred. Those people who listen to the show know exactly what I'm talking about. He had a mind-blowing experience yesterday on the air, and I'm happy to tell you he is just fine. It is also very true, Rich does not sleep. He's got 2 kids, he'll watch West Coast games, and he'll be up until 1 in the morning, and I show up at about 5 a.m., he'll already have been at work for about an hour. Yes, the drunken recaps are all real. One of the sections of the program is we have a guy by the name of Adolfo Gonzalez stand outside in front of whether it be Fenway Park or the Garden and interview drunk fans as they leave games. Now, it's true. Now, on the surface of things, this might seem like we're taking advantage, but it's some of the best radio you'll ever listen to. You know, we've had a woman say if the Bruins win the Stanley Cup, she'll give all players sexual favors. And she meant it at the time. The next morning, she really wanted to take it back, but when you're giving that promise in front of about 1 million listeners, it's awfully hard to take back. It is true, our nighttime host, Damon Amendolara, and his crew eat a ton of pizza. I mean, a lot of pizza. There's an average of 2 boxes a day in the trash when Fred, Rich, and myself and the rest of the morning crew come in. There are only 3 people who work on that show, and somehow they never gain any weight. Of course, that kind of begs the question, why are we all poking around in the trash when we get in? Scott Zolak, who is one of the co-hosts of the Midday program, which is on right now, former Patriots quarterback, is extremely passionate about local sports teams. He's known about screaming at the top of his lungs, "Let's go Boston!" Only he says it a lot louder, and he's a guy actually that's loud 100% of the time. He comes into the studio every day as if his hair is on fire, kick open the door and say, "What's up?" And he's great to work with. Now, as far as my former employers across the street at 8:50 a.m., Mike Adams is indeed very much like that. He did dye his hair green on a bet, and he actually has a Yankee logo tattoo right above his left butt cheek. I, of course, was only told about Mikey about this. I have not expected it for real. I'm told it is there. For those people who listen to WEEI, you are aware of Frank from Gloucester? Yeah. Frank from Gloucester? I'm here to tell you he is a real human being. He has 3 teeth in his head. He wears a Yankee jacket that says World Champions. I mean, there are 27 years after the first 2 or 3, just as a Red Sox fan, choose not to look. He's got a bunch of that, and he is absolutely friggin' nuts. And I'd be scared of him, but he's harmless. He's about 87 years old, and there's something to be said about, this is how I am, I don't care, deal with it. I mean, don't we all kind of wish we were like that? I mean, and that's what Frank is like. The Weiner line, which is on from 5:45 till 6, are real people. They're not paid by the station. It's some of the best humor on radio. And if you tell anyone from 98.5 I said that, I will deny it to all of your faces. Women, Greg Dickerson and I used to host talk shows after Red Sox games. When I worked at DEI, we used to host shows after Saturday night games on Lansdowne Street. And yes, it is true that women used to come up and flash us while we were doing the show. I just realized I never told my wife about this. None of them were as good looking as you. Now, back to sports radio when it fits into Titletown. It all pretty much begins on the assumption that Boston sports fans are raving lunatics. And I think, I want to speak for all of you, but I think we all pretty much are. We're absolutely nuts. We are passionate about all 4 major sports, and that sets all of us apart from most of the rest of America. Maybe New York, maybe Philadelphia, but they do it in so much of a more mean way than we do. We're harmless. raving lunatics.